Vote in the Friendo Awards now. Download the Wrestling Amino app and make your voice heard in our Best of 2016 awards. The link to the app is in the description.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome to Going In Raw Countout, the only podcast right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson, where we count things down in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And we do that every Saturday and Sunday.
Correct.
Today, I believe, is Christmas Eve.
Yes.
So, Merry Christmas Eve to you.
Likewise.
Are you looking forward to tomorrow, which is Christmas?
Yeah.
Even though we're filming this 3 months before Christmas.
No, it's not 3 months.
So, I mean, there's a good 3 months of matches that we're potentially
filming
losing
this
out.
3 days before it airs.
That's right.
So the possibility exists there can be a really
breaking
awesome,
kayfabe right
really
now.
awesome match that happens between now and Saturday.
What's happening between now and Saturday?
There's NXT tonight. There's 205 Live
Oh,
tonight.
hey, you know what? That 4-man number one contender match might be off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Is that live?
No.
No, okay, that's already. Oh, and we already know who won that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read the spoilers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so did I. It will be glorious because it's already aired.
Exactly.
Right,
It's already
right,
happened.
right. Fucking dog. Okay. So anyways, we're in that time in the end of the year when we're talking about the best of the past year. And
Yeah.
by the way, be sure to go to the Wrestling Amino app, look for Steve and Larson, all one word, and vote at the Friendo Awards.
Yes.
You can vote for best match of the year, or I'm sorry, gimmick match of the year, match of the year,
There's 10 categories.
all categories.
Next Saturday on COUNTOUT, December 31st,
That's right.
we will do an episode of COUNTOut to give out
Mm-hmm.
our Friendo Awards as voted by the Friendoverse.
Star-studded. All the nominees will be here live in the studio.
This room's not large enough to accommodate that many people.
AJ Styles will be right here.
Oh, that's cool.
Shinsuke Nakamura right here.
Cool.
Card subject to change.
Okay.
So it could just be you and I.
Probably will
But I'm
be.
planning on giving a call to AJ Styles.
All right, you can invite them all, but I'm planning on just being you and I.
Nobody's going to be here. It's just going to be you and I. Gypsy will probably be here. Annoyance of the year. Gypsy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't talk about my dog like that.
I disagreed with you.
Top 10 matches of 2016.
Yes, that's what we're doing today.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to do that today. These are our top matches of the year. The Friendo Awards, we gave out some nominees for you guys to decide.
Correct.
And right now, 1 and 2 is very, very close. Are 1 and 2 on this list?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
All the
Okay.
nominees for the Friendo Awards are on this list.
All right, let's go with, right now, the leading vote getter by far for top gimmick match of the Friendo Awards.
Number 10.
Number 10, the final deletion.
This match kind of captured the imagination of not only the wrestling world, but a little bit. It got a little bit out there in the mainstream popular culture as well.
Yeah, a little bit, but mainly this is a match that seemingly the entire wrestling community of like fans and wrestlers and everybody just came together to celebrate this match. It's kind of something that doesn't really happen that often these days, where everybody turns their attention to this one thing because it was so unique, it was so different, it was so interesting, and it featured Matt Hardy, who I think everybody can agree that everybody's very excited and proud of the fact that he had a complete and total turnaround with this bizarre variation on his character.
Career renaissance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And by all indications, he was the driving force behind the whole broken Matt Hardy storyline from a creative standpoint.
Right.
This is all his vision.
Right.
Apparently, Jeremy Borash helped him realize that vision in terms of the photography of not only this, but Delete or Decay and the recent total nonstop deletion. But the final deletion is where all that started, and I still think it is the perfect encapsulation of the broken Matt Hardy phenomenon.
Of course, there's been 2 sort of loose sequels. There was Delete or Decay, and then there was the Tag Team Apocalypto.
Which we'll maybe talk about later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow. But Final Deletion, the lead up had all these great pre-filmed vignettes or video sequences
At the Hardy
short
compound.
films, basically.
Yeah, a lot of drone shots.
A lot of drone shots, and of course, the drone Vanguard one was incorporated as a character unto itself within the greater context of this narrative. And you said this before, that you felt that the wrestling itself was sort of played a much sort of lesser, like secondary, tertiary role.
Yeah.
To the
story and the character of broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero.
And it's interesting because for 20 years now, I feel like Matt Hardy has kind of been in the shadow of his brother. Like Jeff Hardy has really, I think they called him at one point the Enigma, and he was, he sort of took the bigger, riskier moves.
Well, and Jeff was one in WWE that won the world title.
The world title, that's
I think
right.
Matt got the Intercontinental title.
He got the U.S. title. He had a pretty significant run with the U.S. title.
And he was a cruiserweight champion too, I believe, right?
Yeah, probably. That sounds right.
And of course, they won the tag titles multiple times.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, Jeff, both in WWE and before this in TNA, had greater success, at least in terms of belts.
And just in terms of their stature, it's like, for a while now, for, the past 12 months or so, prior to this, we had heard that the WWE was interested in signing Jeff because of everything that you just said. And so it's absolutely fascinating, interesting, and really kind of cool that Matt Hardy was able to really transcend past his brother's shadow. I mean, it's been 20 years, but this is it. He did it. And it's absolutely amazing. Broken Matt Hardy, him and Jeff Hardy. So they were fighting for the Hardy brand name.
Yeah.
And really, I think like Jeff Hardy's soul, basically.
More or less.
Brother Nero.
Because Matt wanted to break Jeff, right?
Right.
Which he eventually did.
Yeah, now he has broken Jeff Hardy. He's Brother Nero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is he just broken Jeff Hardy?
Well, on Total Nonstop Deletion, on the lower thirds, they referred to them collectively as the Broken Hardys.
Okay, all right. That makes sense. So I think when they were at odds, he was Brother Nero.
Yeah.
And then he reclaims his name as Broken Jeff Hardy.
Correct.
Once he did that.
That's my understanding as well.
The great thing is, though, the hilarious thing about it, though, is that nowadays, Matt Hardy, seemingly, whenever a camera's on, and whenever he's on a live show,
he's in character.
He's always in character. Jeff Hardy he does it, I think, when his brother wants him to do it, but otherwise, he's just Jeff Hardy.
I know. or he's itchweed.
And I love that so much. I have to catch up on the entire Hardy saga because there's so much I don't know.
I know.
But the one I mentioned this, and we've already filmed tomorrow's episode, but I mentioned this. The greatest thing to me, the cutest thing to me, the most heartwarming thing to me about all this, what gives it real heart, is in the background whenever King Maxwell, Matt Hardy, his son, his little toddler son, whenever he's on camera and Rebby Sky is holding him and Jeff Hardy's there, you always see Jeff break character to goof around with him and make sure that he's not too freaked out, that he has a familiar face. And it's the cutest freaking thing. It is so adorable. Anyways, the final deletion was really a work of inspiration.
Yeah.
You had Skarsgård, the boat, the dilapidated boat.
Yep, you had fireworks.
You had the firework battle. And the thing about Tag Team Apocalypto that we'll talk about tomorrow is that a lot of Tag Team Apocalypto is a sort of retread ground.
Yes.
It's always hard to do something that isn't the original. There's a reason why this is so original.
It felt like they took what worked in the original and just did more of that.
Right, exactly.
Rather than add new ingredients to
right,
it.
yeah.
But again, we'll talk about that tomorrow some more.
Yeah. So final deletion, it was definitely a sea change for TNA.
Well, then also it influenced other organizations. I mean, WWE did their own kind of version on the final deletion during the Wyatt New Day feud.
Right, exactly.
Where they had that segment shot at the Wyatt compound.
The Wyatt compound match, yeah. So, yeah, final deletion, definitely a high point.
Yes.
In wrestling this year. Number 9. Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz at WWE No Mercy.
Yeah, we were there for this match.
Yeah, we were. We were there here in Sacramento, California.
Yeah, going into this match, The Miz had beaten Dolph a couple times for the Intercontinental title. And so Dolph, wanting one more shot at the belt, put his career on the line.
Well, even in the larger context, like pre-brand split, The Miz, I'll put it this way. If you had told me before the brand split that in 2016, one of the matches of the year was going to be Dolph versus Miz for the IC title, it'd be, wait, what? These guys are both like consummate IC title guys who, I know The Miz had a brief run with the world title, but once he got kicked back down to where he should have been.
An upper mid-card guy.
Exactly. Both been upper mid-card guys who sort of flirted with the main event, but never really had. I mean, yeah, I understand Dolph has held the world title, the old WCW belt, twice, but neither of them were significant runs. I think one only lasted like a day or something.
It was about 10 minutes, wasn't it? Didn't
Yeah,
he get in on an
something
episode
weird.
of Raw?
Like, didn't Vicky Guerrero give it to him or something like that?
Got it off him.
Yeah, something like that. And then the second time, I think he technically held it for like 30 days.
That's when he cashed in on Del Rio.
But he was concussed like a week after he won it, and so they just didn't have him fight for 3 weeks, something like that.
And then as soon as he got healthy, he dropped it back to Del Rio.
Right. And so, I mean, ever since then, he's always been trying to claw his way back up to the top, but it's just never been the case. It's always, he's been a and now they've made that kind of part of his storyline. So when the brand split happened, you had The Miz and Dolph Ziggler as basically the only people in the upper mid card.
Yes.
Kind of even the mid card.
But even before this feud, when Dolph had his match against Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam, they were still touching on Dolph's success or lack thereof in recent years.
Yeah.
You know, that was a huge part of that feud too.
And this all culminated in the Miz Dolph putting his career on the line in exchange for the Miz putting the IC title on the line. And so they did a hell of a job in the build up to this.
Dolph was on Twitter saying, if you want to book me after the show, here's the contact.
Giving all sorts of hints that this could be it.
Posting pictures of the crew saying thank you, goodbye.
Yeah. There's all sort of, and so there was really this sort of sense of, wow, this could be it. And on top of that, there was just this idea that, well, you know, it was starting to get around that, well, maybe he's going to be a trainer. Maybe he's going to do any number of things because, and this is a hell of a way to go out. It wouldn't be out of the norm if Dolph Ziggler did retire. I mean, he's taken a lot of bumps in his day. And so the stage was set, and the match really did. It was it should have been a true blow-off match.
Yeah, and it should have been the main event of that show.
It should have been the main event of that show. And it was an absolutely stellar matchup.
Great storytelling, because every near fall, we thought that was it.
It was just Dolph in desperation mode.
The Spirit Squad came out, tried to interfere.
Right.
Great.
The Miz, there was so many great sequences. Like I remember the Miz trying to reach to the rope, and Dolph ended up pulling it out, and you know it was a big celebration.
Oh, a huge pop!
And it should have ended the show.
I know,
and that should have been the last that we saw of Dolph versus Miz.
Yes.
But it sort of ran on fumes for a couple more matches.
Yeah, a couple more months it seemed like.
Yeah,
and there was that great shot at the end of the match after the Miz lost, where he was resting his head on the bottom rope.
Yeah.
Sad and forlorn.
Yeah, and he got the belt and he got it back pretty quickly.
Yeah. But still, great match.
And it also, I mean, look, they're still just by virtue of the fact that neither of them are the world champion, they're still in the upper mid card.
Oh yeah.
But you know, Dolph. Well, you know, Dolph is currently, you know, he's mixing up with AJ a little bit.
Yeah, he'll have a title match.
Event.
Yeah,
he's got a title match coming
on
up
SmackDown
with Baron Corbin
Tuesday,
and AJ Styles. And then the Miz started to flirt a little bit with the main event when he started to challenge AJ Styles, and then him and Dean Ambrose, who's a main eventer. So, you know, he really elevated that belt because now Dean Ambrose is threatening him for the belt. So I think this did wonders for both men.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, SmackDown now has that vacuum there in the upper mid card or the mid card where there's not a lot going on.
I know, and it's a shame that SmackDown's roster is so thin that they have to prolong feuds, probably in some cases past
a bit longer than they should.
Yeah, when they should have ended.
Yeah. Number 8. Kota Ibushi versus Cedric Alexander in the Cruiserweight Classic second round. This was I was not aware of
phenomenal
Cedric
match.
Alexander before the Cruiserweight Classic.
Nor was I.
But this match
made him a star.
It made him a star. It literally made him a star. Kota Ibushi, I think, a 3-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight champion. It's funny because I wasn't, you know, I'm still very slowly learning the ins and outs of New Japan. I hope by this time next year I can maybe both of us can be savvy enough and educated enough where we can do like a predictions episode for New Japan pay-per-views. And we can start because, you know, there's one thing that I like about the Going In Raw community is that we all, so many of our friendos out there are interested in learning, same as us. You know, we don't claim to know everything.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm really marking out with this whole Going In Raw.
All Going In Raw over there.
ProWrestlingTees.com.
Yes, you can also get fun wrestling t-shirts.
I can't wait for those to come in. So I wasn't even that aware of Kota Ibushi. I knew of his reputation. I wasn't familiar with his work.
Yeah, and there was a lot of excitement about his involvement in the Cruiserweight Classic.
But man, he carries himself like a star. And he made Cedric Alexander look like $1 million and vice versa. And it felt like it felt like a New Japan match. Like now that I've seen a bit more, this was up there at that level. It was so good.
Such great storytelling where Cedric was giving Kota everything he had. Mm-hmm. And Kota kept getting back up. Mm-hmm. And Cedric was selling it so perfectly. His acting in that match was so good.
The TV direction, because you got all these great close-ups of his face, and the way he built his desperation. Yes. It wasn't just immediately, oh my God, why didn't I hit that? It was like inching his way towards this, towards what he felt should have been his victory. Yeah. And then he ended up losing, and the crowd afterwards started chanting, you should sign him or
something along those lines.
And thank you, Cedric, and stuff like that. And then Triple H comes out, puts his arm over Cedric Alexander, and says, "I got this covered." And sure enough, now Cedric is one of the cornerstones of the cruiserweight division, one of the bright spots currently feuding with Noam Dar.
Yep,
fantastic. So many great spots in this match. So many great spots. So definitely want to check out.
Yes.
Number 7.
Sorry, we got 2 lists here, and I got confused.
Sasha Banks versus Charlotte on Raw, December 28th, or their Iron Man match. I couldn't really figure out which one I wanted.
Pretty much all the matches they've had during their feud have been very good. Mm-hmm. Their pay-per-view matches, at least their 2 most recent ones, are not without their flaws.
Yeah.
For example, the Hell in the Cell match is very good. Especially the first half. Mm-hmm. Second half, the pace slows down, but then the finish kind of came out of nowhere and
took you out of it.
Didn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Their Iron Man match is great. Mm-hmm. The spot where Sasha taps out with 2 seconds left is a little suspect.
Yeah.
And reports are saying that's a Vince idea. You thought that'd be great. I had an idea about that.
Okay.
I'll run by you.
All right, go ahead.
So let's say with about, 5 minutes left, Charlotte started working the leg.
Okay.
Put her in the figure 4. They still have the kind of fighting back and forth, but Sasha finds a way to reverse it into like a pinning predicament. Mm-hmm. Charlotte kicks out. Sasha tries to do something. Leg gives out. Charlotte hits natural selection, gets the pin as time runs out. That's more dramatic than what they did, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. When it's something where the clock is ticking down, a submission is always suspect because with 2 seconds left, and you just get the feeling anybody who's been like, oh, I'm just going to put my hands right here and
just stare at the clock.
Just stare at the clock. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you have it right there. I agree with that. I think that would have been good. I think something else that could have worked along those lines, because you need something that happens quickly, that's a sudden movement, is what if Charlotte hit the bridge right as time was expiring, and that was something that was instantly was too much, and then she taps out, because I know the bridge can be made in a sudden movement. Yeah. And what if that torque right there is what got her to tap out? I like your idea better, but I feel like if they needed a submission tap out thing, then I think because so much of the story there was her hitting the bridge.
Yeah. So, no, I know. But then say she never gets it, and then in overtime she finally gets it.
Yeah.
That could have amplified the ending of the match as well. But everything else in that Iron Man match was great.
Yeah, it was really good. And that Raw match was excellent as well.
Yeah, the no holds barred, no DQ match.
They came out with the kendo sticks. Mm-hmm. They went up into the crowd, and that finish where Sasha bends Charlotte through the railing in the crowd in the rafters.
The aisle.
The aisle. Thank you. Was very creative.
Yeah,
it was very well done. Some of we saw a picture of Sasha basically like when she whacked Charlotte with the kendo stick. There's a still that's perfect, and it's just a chunk of the kendo stick wrapped around
Charlotte's
and
hip.
Embedded in her hip.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of the story of their last couple of matches. Like from the Iron Man match on, they got really physical and really brutal. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the thing about the Iron Man match is I'll never forget the lasting image of Charlotte, and they all the pictures they put in black and white now. But of Sasha and her nose just flowing with blood,
and there's the finish of the match is really well done because there's that shot and they hold on it, kind of a long shot where you see Charlotte, putting the figure 8 on Sasha. And Sasha's in it, in pain, reaching for the ropes, and she's about that far away from the
Oh
ropes.
yeah, they had choreographed that perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Charlotte eventually pulls her more towards the center of the ring. Sasha has to tap.
Yeah.
I mean, all of their matches had great storytelling moments.
Right.
And I think the Iron Man match or the Iron Woman match, apart from that one spot where Sasha tapped his time ran out, I think in terms of storytelling, that was probably from top to bottom their most consistent, solid, well-paced, well-told match.
Yeah. No.
Because on Raw, all the matches were pretty good, but they were just shorter.
Yeah.
They just put so much into that 30-minute match.
Yeah, it was spectacular. So according to the Friendo Awards, right now they're in a huge lead for Feud of the Year.
I won't argue with that. Great feud of the year.
Neither will I. Number 6. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens at WWE Battleground.
Speaking of a well-told story.
Yeah.
Now, leading up to this match, we all know their history, going all the way back to their time in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and Ring of Honor and whatnot. And of course, when they were in NXT, they had a brief feud, but very intense. Where the night where Sami Zayn won the NXT title, it was also the night that Kevin Owens had his first match in NXT.
Right.
Beat CJ Parker, came out to celebrate with Sami, his title win, and then as everybody else because the whole locker room came out to celebrate. Everybody else went backstage. Last two to walk up the ramp were Kevin and Sami, and then Kevin attacked him and powerbombed him against the apron.
Powerbomb the shit out of him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which led to a title match not that long afterwards.
Right.
Where Kevin Owens destroyed him. They
Yeah.
stopped the bout.
Yeah.
Because Kevin Owens powerbombed him like 6 or 7 times.
Right.
So they have this huge wealth of backstory. And every time Sami, like when Sami debuted in the Royal Rumble, when his official debut on the main roster, first guy he went after, Kevin Owens.
Yeah. And so it was a great running thread for, from the NXT to Battleground, which is quite a span.
But even the promos leading up to this match, they touched upon their time in the Indies.
Yeah. And the
fact they've been best friends for so long and whatnot.
And their match at Battleground, it sort of did feel like, and I wasn't able to verify this before we started, but it felt like the first time that, they had plenty of matches before this. This is their blow off. And it felt, number one, the match itself, it was buried in the pay-per-view. It was like 3 matches into the pay-per-view. Should have been the main event. But it felt like a WrestleMania match. It felt like a WrestleMania blow off.
Yes.
And these guys treated it as such.
Yes.
And the level of emotion, it felt like it was the first time they were sort of on equal footing.
Well, they had a match at Payback. I don't remember if that's the pay-per-view right before or 2 pay-per-views prior. I think it was 2 because it was Payback and then Extreme. Payback's the one right after WrestleMania.
Right.
They had a match that Kevin Owens won. The following pay-per-view, Extreme Rules, they were both in, I believe, the Intercontinental 4-way match.
Right. Which
and then
is a good match.
this was their blow-off match.
Yeah.
And there's this great moment at the end. Well, there's a whole great sequence at the end where Sami delivers a couple of reverse exploder suplexes.
Right.
Kevin gains the upper hand, powerbombs him. Sami puts his foot on the ropes. Kevin gets him up and says, "Just stay down.
Yeah.
Stay down. Don't make me do this to you." Even the ref is behind Kevin saying, "Don't do it.
Yeah.
Sami, don't get up."
Yeah.
Sami gets up, delivers 2 more suplexes, then a haluva kick, and then as Kevin Owens is starting to slump down the corner, Sami grabs him, holds him, props him up, and just kind of looks in his face.
Yeah. And there's so much history right there.
There's so much emotion right there.
Exactly.
And then, puts his arms over the ropes, goes the opposite corner, another haluva kick, gets the win.
Yeah.
Just such great storytelling.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. And it sort of gave some foreshadowing for how Sami Zayn, it's like he got sort of lost in the shuffle for a bit because they went hard on Kevin Owens. And now he's in a pretty he was in a pretty high profile feud with Braun Strowman. It'll be interesting to see what happens now. Braun was yelling for Sami, and then Braun started interrupting match after match, or 2 matches on Raw, but interjected himself in the main event.
So I still wouldn't be surprised if that match doesn't happen before the Rumble, and Braun kind of continues his path of destruction.
Do you think you're going to see Sami Braun 2, another one?
Yeah, I think
an actual match? You think they would, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah,
that makes sense. But it's kind of interesting they're sowing the seeds of Braun versus Roman, if that's the way they're going to go. It seems like interesting that they're sowing those seeds right now.
Yeah, they are.
And they're making, and to be, by proxy, they're bringing Sami Zayn into that main event sort of picture,
Well, there were reports going around saying that, and granted, I don't know how reliable they are, that there were talks of trying to get Sami up into the main event for WrestleMania.
Oh, wow.
Or into that scene.
Holy shit.
For the Universal title.
That's not surprising at all because, according to a couple different sources, including Jim Cornette, Kevin Owens is essentially Sami Zayn's agent during their indie run, which I know tickles both of us. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Kevin Owens, who I really doubt has any problem asserting himself and his ideas backstage, probably fully intends and probably takes great delight in the idea that his best friend is going to be coming up to battle for the Universal title. Like, it would be so... I know we've sort of talked about Owens versus Jericho at Mania, but I could see Owens versus Sami Zayn at Mania for the Universal title.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Imagine the pop Sami would get if he won the Royal Rumble.
The great thing about Sami Zayn right now is that I am fully confident that the WWE intends to use him in a pretty big way.
Yes.
It's just I have no idea how that's going to take place, and I like that.
I know.
It's like we can kind of chart out what's going to happen between now and Mania for a lot of people, and Sami Zayn isn't one of those guys.
I know.
And that's kind of cool because he can be in so many different spots.
And he's in a storyline right now that we're not sure where it's going to go.
I know.
That's interesting.
It's neat. It's good. Number 5.
5.
The Young Bucks and Adam Cole, baby, versus Ricochet, Matt Sydal, and Will Ospreay at Pro Wrestling Guerrillas Battle of LA Day 2.
Yes.
This was a 6-man tag match.
So you brought this match to my attention because Dave Meltzer
creamed all over it.
The Wrestling Observer newsletter was a huge fan of this match.
Yeah.
And he gave it 5 stars. Which I can't remember where I read it, but I read somewhere while reading up on these matches. And I looked it up to verify it, that it's the first 5-star match he's given to a match that's taken place here in the States since 2012. And that was a Ring of Honor match between Davey Richards and Michael Elgin. And prior to that, CM Punk, John Cena, Money in the Bank the year prior.
Yeah.
So, but that was the last time a match here in the United States got 5 stars from Dave Meltzer.
Yeah.
And I think it's also the first Pro Wrestling Guerrilla match to get 5 stars from Dave as well.
Okay, they're doing like it's funny that like I kind of liken Pro Wrestling Guerrilla to WCPW over in like its English counterpart because they're both doing amazing things with indie talent. Like I know PWG has sort of I think since like 2013 they have sort of a loose working relationship with Ring of Honor where they can let their guys come over there and fight. And so, but WCPW is also doing amazing things with indie level talent, and then bringing in big time non WWE or recent WWE releases or signees or whatever.
Yeah, to get some more eyeballs.
To get more eyeballs, they've had Cody Rhodes, they've had Kurt Angle, they've had Alberto Del Rio, and so they're
Drew Galloway just recently won their championship.
That's right. And so both these promotions have been doing like really, really amazing things. Like it's so funny you see. WCPW, and at first you think, oh, it's just, it's the YouTuber guys, and we love them. But then you actually watch the matches that they're putting on and they're conceiving of, and then the performances even like Adam Machidi's given as their heel GM.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like legitimately on its own, as its own thing. Like separate yourself as a fan of, what they're doing on their YouTube channel with their wrestling commentary. As a promotion, it's doing so surprisingly well, and it's quality stuff.
Yeah.
And PWG has been doing that for a very long time.
2013?
And
2002, 2002, 2003.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
which is kind of surprising that if you look, I took some time to look through the various brackets of the Battle of Los Angeles tournament, and there's some awesome matches. And it's surprising that none of those got 5 stars. Ever.
I know, and that that's sort of the thing about Dave Meltzer has his fair share of critics because so many people take his rankings as gospel, and so many people take issue with that, and it's like it's kind of you can't expect one guy to be the absolute authority on everything, and so. So it's not terribly surprising, but it also is kind of surprising because PWG has been, but it feels like PWG is sort of the place to be right now, and I feel like that's a relatively recent thing. Like I know their shows have been
within the
selling
last 2
out.
or 3 years. It feels that way.
Yeah, and it's like, we find out that the show's going on sale, and you and I have been itching to get down to LA just to check out a PWG show in person.
They seem to sell out in a matter of
like,
seconds.
Oh crap, they sold out again. So we gotta wait another 2 months.
Let's talk a little bit about this match because there's some pretty incredible spots.
the highlight, this is an incredible match just based on the spots, and I think so. I watched all of Ladder Wars 6, and Ladder Wars 6 isn't on here because I think this is the better match. Judging from, you can watch the highlights of Ladder Wars 6, and you can watch the highlights of this, and I watched all of Ladder Wars 6, and it was impressive. Not as impressive. None of the spots in Ladder Wars 6 I thought, except maybe when the ladder topples over and he goes into the Meltzer driver.
Oh yeah,
maybe that. But then this has the one where Seidel comes off, does a 450
shooting
star into their own.
Well, Ricochet has one of the Young Bucks
up for a Meltzer driver,
yeah.
And all the level of coordination between all these guys, while at the same time featuring a very brutal match.
Yes,
is like they have that sort of balance that a lot of people, when the whole Vader Will Ospreay sort of rivalry started happening on Twitter, where Vader was talking shit about Ospreay and Ricochet's Super Juniors tournament match, where they were kind of doing a lot of what he said, the flippy stuff or the dancing stuff. This I felt had that stuff, but there was a lot of brutality to it as well.
And if you, the following night at the Battle of Los Angeles, Day 3, the Young Bucks had a match against Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix. That is also really incredible.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
I almost considered putting that one on here too.
Right.
Because it was that awesome.
Yeah.
And again, it has plenty of the high-flying, intricately choreographed segments, but also they sell. Some of the spots look rough. They look really painful.
Yeah.
So it's a good balance between kind of hard-hitting wrestling with some of the more exciting moves.
Yeah. It's so funny too, because it's going to be interesting to look at this match back in, let's say, 5 years from now. When I can guarantee you Ospreay is going to be huge. Ricochet is going to be huge. I mean, Matt Sydal had his time in WWE. It'll be interesting to see if he goes back or if he's able to go back.
Adam
Cole's going to be there,
or the Young Bucks.
And the Young Bucks, I guarantee you, in 5 years, these guys are all going to have runs there of some sort. I mean, that it has to happen, barring injury. So it'll be interesting to look back on this. And I mean, because if you look at PWG's early days, man, they were bringing in guys like CM Punk, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Colt Cabana was there.
Yeah.
And still there.
Well, look at the list of the people who have won the Battle of Los Angeles. It's basically a who's who of the top names in wrestling.
Right, exactly.
Or even the people who participated in it. Like Kenny Omega is a past winner. Ricochet is a past winner. Joey Ryan, of course, is a past winner.
Yeah.
Zack Sabre Jr. has won it.
Yeah.
Most of the hot names, if not in WWE or on the indie circuit, they've all won this tournament.
Yeah. Number 4. The Revival versus DIY TakeOver Toronto.
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa.
So we were there for their first match at TakeOver Brooklyn 2.
Yeah. Yes.
Which was excellent.
Which was fantastic, and we did not think that they'd be able to top that.
Oh, man, but they did.
Boy, oh boy, did they.
This was a best of 3 falls match, 2 out of 3 falls.
Yeah.
And both these teams are really good with taking moves of their opponents, or working their opponents' moves into the match in interesting and creative ways.
Yes, correct.
For example, there's a spot in this match where Gargano does his spear through the ropes, but Dawson catches him into the Shatter Machine.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a couple instances in this match where they reference the previous match, most notably when Gargano is in the single leg lock or whatever it was that Dawson made him tap to in their first match. He gets him in this same submission hold in this match. Gargano doesn't tap.
Yeah.
And there's the finish of this match, which is fantastic, where both Dash and Dawson are in submission moves.
Yeah.
And they're grab each other's hands to prevent them from each other from tapping out.
There was so many levels there of what that meant. It was like their bond, their ties, their reign on top, all coming to an end together.
Yep.
In the most perfectly symmetrical way.
Yep.
And it was like Like DIY has been involved in two of the most emotional moments in the ring this year.
Oh, the
Cruiserweight Classic where they had to fight each other, and Gargano came out on top.
Yeah, he won
right?
that match. Yeah,
he won that one. And Ciampa starts to leave, and then their bond is too great. So he turns around, comes back in because he understands that there's no celebration for Gargano.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody, and he goes and Gargano's sitting there, and you're so used to the post-match celebration or what have you being stood up. He sits down next to him
and embraces him.
And it's like, whoa, I haven't seen that level of like, what is this? A freaking tearjerker movie? What is this? What is this Oscar moment right here?
I know, it was really well done.
It was so well done. And then you have the same emotional moment here where the Revival are holding hands desperately, looking at each other, understanding we're done.
Yeah.
This is it.
And then the last act of desperation is just to hold each other's hands so they don't tap.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they end up tapping.
Yeah. So well done.
It was so well done. Like I was stunned. I was like, that is one of the most creative and yet simple moments I've ever seen in professional wrestling. This and the next match are actually in a fierce battle right now for the number 1 spot.
For the Friendo Award for Match of the Year.
Yeah, for Friendo Match of the Year. So we'll get to that one. Number 3. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura at Wrestle Kingdom 10 at the Tokyo Dome.
I wasn't familiar with this match, or I should say that familiar with this match. You spoke highly of it.
Yeah.
So I had to put it on here.
Yeah.
And then when I came over today, we watched a good portion of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a really good match.
It's a really good match.
Hard hitting.
It's hard. It's a story. It's almost like a defensive story. It's Shinsuke trying to prevent AJ from doing AJ things, and Nakamura, and vice versa. AJ trying to prevent Shinsuke basically from hitting the Bomaye at the Kinshasa. Kinshasa. It's the SH first.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, there's a bunch of great spots. I don't know if you saw this video of this, but it happened early in the match when they're sort of playing psychological games. AJ does the Bullet Club thing. By the way, I really wish that AJ in the WWE would see this was cool heel AJ when he's just being brutal, as opposed to the heel that he is in the WWE, which is sort of more snarky, jokey AJ. And I kind of prefer Bullet Club guy. But it's interesting. It's so interesting because I think in Japan that translated better. Over here, I don't know how it would translate because I don't know. It's something I feel like we need to talk about or something, because he was just a sort of he was just a badass back then.
Yeah.
And now it's like the WWE always wants their heels to have some comedic element.
Unless they're Braun Strowman. Like there isn't, I'm trying to think of anybody who's just straight up mean. Seems mean. Like, if you're mean, you have to be a monster heel and you have to be huge.
Right.
Like Strowman or Lesnar.
Yeah, like in New Japan, he was leader of the Bullet Club, and they did their fair share of, but it was like cool joking, you know? And anyways, he was just a badass. And him and Shinsuke, it was for Shinsuke Nakamura's Intercontinental Championship. And AJ Styles was basically trying to take out Shinsuke's knees, so that he couldn't hit the Bomaye.
Yeah.
And it was just the finish featured Shinsuke like he's but anyways, I was mentioning this. So as leader of the Bullet Club, he did the thing where he goes like that, and Shinsuke
I see
goes
that.
like that and eats the imaginary bullet.
Yeah.
And it's just a wonder of wrestling to watch.
Yeah.
The level, like the level of creativity, the level of brutality that you feel just watching these guys go at it. It's not like on one of the matches on our worst list tomorrow.
No, most disappointing.
Is Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose, where it just felt like they would do something and then they would take a break, and act like they were really hurting. They were acting,
but the moves that led them to be taking a break were high impact.
This match just felt like they were beating the crap out of each other and they were selling it to perfection.
Yeah, there's that spot where they were hitting each other with elbows, similar to the spot in the Shinsuke Sami Zayn match.
Yeah,
another match that could have easily made this list.
Down here,
And I mean, you could hear the impact of those elbows. I mean, they're not hitting in the face; they're hitting them right here.
Yeah.
But they weren't really pulling punches, hitting each other in the collarbone area.
Yeah. And then
and
you could see the welt.
He had a welt
because he had an elbow pad and Shinsuke didn't.
Yeah.
And then it ends with a Bomaye to the back of AJ Styles' head, and we know that AJ knows how to sell. He knows how to make something look violent, and this looked violent.
Yes.
And then he gets back up, and then he takes another one to the front, and then he gets pinned. But it featured a Styles Clash, 2 calf crushers, a couple of Bomayes.
Yeah.
And at one point, he was threatening to do a Super Styles Clash from the top.
Yeah.
And that was reversed. It was just it's an exhausting match to watch.
Yeah.
It's rare that you can watch a match and be like, I'm fucking exhausted right now. But that's what it was.
I feel like the top 4 of these.
Yeah, for sure.
Because after that Revival DIY match, it's like, man,
you're emotionally exhausted in that one. Yeah, for sure. Number 2. Once again, AJ Styles versus John Cena at SummerSlam.
We were there for this one.
Yes, we were.
And, AJ won their first matchup at... Was it Money in the Bank? Yes, Money in the Bank.
Okay.
And usually when Cena feud with somebody, his opponent will go over the first match, then he'll win everything after that.
Right, yeah.
And so they didn't have a rematch directly after this. At Battleground, they didn't have a rematch. It was Cena and Enzo and Cass against the Club.
Yeah.
Cena, Enzo, and Cass went over.
Yeah.
So going into SummerSlam, we had no idea who was going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were both kind of half expecting Cena to win.
Yeah, because Cena wins.
Yeah, always. Cena always wins.
Yeah, exactly. But it also showed the level of, like, Cena will win if Cena wants to win. And it showed the level of respect that Cena had. It was kind of a bit of a passing of the torch, you know?
Yeah.
Cena's on a part-time schedule right now. We're not sure how part-time it's going to be, but he's got a loaded extracurricular schedule these days. He's shooting a couple movies, TV shows.
TV stuff, yeah.
And so it does seem, AJ Styles, in winning this match, took on the moniker face that runs the place.
And at the end of this match, I'll just jump to the end. Cena takes his sweatband off his arm and puts it in the middle of the ring.
Yeah.
And the next episode of SmackDown, AJ has that.
Yeah. He's walking around like a bomber, Tenenbaum.
Yeah. But there's so many great spots in this match, and the one that'll always stick with me is Cena does a top rope attitude adjustment. AJ kicks out.
Yeah.
And there's that shot. I remember, they put it up on the scoreboard at the Barclays Center of Cena just flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Can't fathom how AJ kicked out of that. And then shortly thereafter, AJ reverses move into a Styles Clash, gets the pin, and we go bananas.
Yeah, we went bananas. It was and it was funny because it was like, again, buried in the pay-per-view. Then after this, there was like a tag match. Yeah, after this was a tag team match.
After this was also Dolph Dean.
Yeah, and it's like, why wasn't that flip-flop? Like, this was such a good match. It was so
stellar.
Good. And everything after it felt like it, kind of sucked. It sucked. It just took the wind out of me. I was still exhausted because this, then Ms. Dean. I forget what it came after that. What was the main event at SummerSlam this year?
Lesnar Orton.
Oh, God. Blech.
Well, then before that was the Reigns-Rusev match that didn't happen.
Oh, that's right.
And then before that was the Universal title match, and the crowd just crapped on the belt the whole time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So this match was by far the high point of the whole show.
It was definitely the high point, yeah.
And, in our opinion, the second best match of the year.
And number one goes to Kenny Omega versus Tetsuya Naito. I hope I said that right. Because, man, this is the G1 Climax. It was the semifinal.
Yeah.
And, oh, my God. This solidified the fact that Kenny Omega is like 1B in terms of Wrestler of the Year next to AJ Styles.
There are matches that feature great storytelling. There are matches that feature fantastic spots. There are matches that feature a brisk pace. And this match does all those things.
It does there's it's so rare in the WWE that you get a sense of urgency anymore. And it's like, it's funny because you watch, like, for example, the PWG match, okay? It's very fast-paced, but there's not necessarily a sense of urgency. When I see Kenny Omega go, it just feels like he has a sense of urgency. Like everything is in overtime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have to do this now.
Yeah.
And he does that from the get.
Yes.
And Naito and him just had an absolutely amazing, like miraculous match. So many great spots.
Great story where Tetsuya is working the leg, and there'll be times where a wrestler will work his opponent's limb or body part, and the person will sell it, kind of in between moves.
Right? Yeah.
But Omega was selling it while
he
trying
incorporated
to do
it into the story, which is you're supposed to do.
Like he tried to do a move and his leg would give out.
Yeah,
and Rich
exactly.
Swann did that in his match against, who was it? In one of the Cruiserweight Classic matches.
Okay.
Where Rich Swann completely changed how he wrestled.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the TJ Perkins one.
Yeah.
Completely changed how he wrestled.
Yeah.
Because he was selling an injury.
It's rare that somebody sells so well that you start to feel it. Like I remember watching. This is not wrestling, but watching Yao Ming run. Like I watched the Kings game back when Yao Ming was playing Kings versus the Rockets, and I remember hurting. Like my knees hurt watching him run because they look so hobbled. Kenny Omega did such a great job selling his knee being injured that it made my knee hurt. I was like, "Oh my god, this looks like his." And that's your job, selling. That's what you're supposed to do.
But that didn't keep him from doing one of the craziest spots I've seen of the year.
Yeah.
So they're outside on the mat outside the ring, and Kenny Omega power bombs Tetsuya through a table on the other side of the barrier.
Yeah.
And then he climbs up on the top rope and does like a huge leap into the crowd.
Yeah.
And barely hits anything except the floor.
Yeah.
The brunt of his impact is his shoulder on concrete.
Yeah.
And he finishes the match.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Just fantastic.
And there's so many, it took Omega so many attempts to get Tetsuya up in his finisher. Like 3-4 times at least.
Yeah.
And there's so many great false finishes. Man.
Yeah. New Japan is the level of storytelling and like all the false finishes that you get. Like you got the same thing in the Nakamura AJ Styles match. Like the number of false finishes and their reactions to them and then the crowd's reactions to them are just next level. Like they're really something else. So yeah, I mean, one thing I would definitely recommend. I mean, I know pretty much all the friendos out there that that watch the show regularly, have the WWE Network. It's a great deal. New Japan Pro Wrestling, their New Japan Pro Wrestling World is a fantastic deal. Like you have to maneuver, their website, which they have English. They have enough English in their interface to you can figure out what's going on, but they add content all the time, current stuff to get, like documentary type stuff. And they're always adding old matches. I think they have all the Wrestle Kingdoms going back to like 92. So one thing I'm going to start doing is just checking them out one by one and tracing the lineage, because it is fantastic, and it'll give you such an insight as to where the WWE is headed.
Yes.
Because seemingly where New Japan goes these days, and places like Ring of Honor where they go these days, WWE they follow suit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the thing about the WWE is that they're not necessarily breaking ground with their wrestling.
Well, I mean, even the Attitude Era was just them kind of mimicking the ECW style.
Exactly. Yeah. They look at what's hot. You got Triple H out there, and he seems to be doing a pretty good job. He's understanding that the UK scene is hot right now, so they introduced the UK Championship.
Well, he seems like he has a pretty good understanding of what's going on in wrestling outside of WWE in general.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you got Vince McMahon is wondering why he didn't sign AJ Styles 10 years ago. And it's like, well, the rest of the world knew that, Vince.
Yeah. Pay attention.
Everybody else knew that. You were out there signing bodybuilders. So, anyways, those are our top 10 matches for 2016. By all means, let us know what you guys think in the comments. And then tomorrow we've got our top disappointing matches for the year.
Yes, not necessarily bad matches, just matches that didn't necessarily live up to our expectations.
For one reason or another.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a couple stinkers on here.
Yeah, there are a couple bad matches, but not all of them.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.